And we're back, everybody, for our second series of day 2 for our Academy Super Week, where we have Evil Geniuses Academy opposite the Rift of 100 Thieves Academy. Now, Evil Geniuses already here with a middling start. I think expectations for this team were pretty high coming in based on the pedigree of players they've had, and so far they've been hitting some, missing some. And Latires, I know that you were excited to chat about them, so thoughts on how Evil Geniuses Academy are looking so far in the season?
First of all, I think Evil Geniuses Academy, no matter what players are on the roster, is always fun to steal from. Smacks last year being the #1 fan of this team and just what they bring to the table. I think because they still have Tomio in the jungle position, for instance, they still have a lot of that fire. You're bringing in Saligo, who has been in the up and up and had a lot of good moments both in LCS and Academy as of late. And Surdy, for instance, in the top lane. I think that's where you're looking to see what happens when he stabilizes a bit more as a player, because in some games, yeah, he's going to carry hard. And, oh, Viper, you like to do things on the top lane. I like to do things in the top lane and be a PowerPoint for my team. Let's go. You just don't necessarily see that every game just yet. But I know the part that a lot of people are extremely excited about is this bot lane, because the bot laner, for instance, in Kaori, was a highly anticipated pickup because of his past professional performance. There was talk of him even being within the scouting eyes for an LCS position coming into the year, and now immediately within Academy, already such a standout player, in which we even saw in the content piece that we saw Cubby and Joshi do, talking about that there's just these little things that you want to see fixed up, pathing a little bit this way, pathing a little that way, and then he'll be right there. So with the assistance of SkyTech really being fantastic on engaged supports, for instance, I think there's a lot of power there.
A lot of power packing in Evil Geniuses Academy roster. But, Mark, they are up against 100 Thieves, who, if you were watching last year, powerhouse Academy team, and they do look different going into this new season, but still, overall, their performance has been strong, minus the 0-2 yesterday to Immortals. So, yeah.
It was tough. I was ready to hype them all up, and then yesterday they just kind of ran into this revitalized Immortals from this week. They do have a ton of talent on this roster. When you're talking about that, Kenby's been super hyped up as the up-and-coming jungler to keep your eye out for. Gomsu has been around for a really long time. And then in particular, talking about the bot lane matchup that we're going to hype up, Wixie and Busio, I was really excited for them. And then yesterday, they ran up into Arrow, and they had a really tough time with the back camps that we talked about, Chad trying to throw down there. And so they were piloting the Lux Caitlyn lanes and kind of got taken apart when they got the jungle attention. As one of the weaknesses of the lane is you have to push up, which then leaves you open to ganks. And I think they fell to some of those, but I was excited to see them take on that matchup, because that is a lane that I think is a great test for how good you really are as a bot lane, because you have to play it aggressively.
And they have a really tough opponent today with Kaori and SkyTech, and that's where we want to put our focus for this match in particular. It feels like bot lane will be very, pivotal for either of these teams on a win. Evil Geniuses Academy have been playing through bot lane very heavily. 100 Thieves Academy, they can, but oftentimes they'll, allow other carries on the team to facilitate instead. So as we look at this bot lane, and we take a look at some of their past performances here, you'll notice a general trend, especially when we look at Evil Genius Academy's side with Kaori and SkyTech positioning in team fights. Now, the Tigers, you already mentioned, Cubby and Joshi had their own video and their own thoughts on this, and you can already see some of that on display here as we run the clip of how they look during these team fight moments, because DPS is very important, but sometimes it's about towing that line. How aggressive do you really want to get?
Yeah, and it's exactly what you're saying, right? Because as a lot of the bot laners within the current meta, you see there's not a lot of inherent mobility, so a single moment of not being in the proper position can be your downfall. And I think a lot of it lying on SkyTech, for instance, to be able to frontline and be able to peel effectively for the rest of the team. And yesterday we're talking about how 100 Thieves didn't quite have the best showing in their matchup, and EG ended up splitting against Dignitas, who have been fairly consistent in a lot of their play as well. And I mean, Spawn and JJ had a really great game, JJ being a very vocal leader of that team and kind of a staple there as well. So Kaori and SkyTech, not necessarily in the best look we have seen them in that game, but we've seen just how high that stealing can be when they are playing at the top of their potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, the matchup was rough early in the series, but they were able to clean it up a little bit. But Mark Z,
I was gonna
your
throw in
thoughts?
that they did a really good job reacting to Dignitas. If you watch all those highlights, it's almost always on
Yeah.
the EG side of the map where Dignitas is being really aggressive, and that's where SkyTech's able to find some of those engages over the walls and stuff, punishing Dignitas for overstepping.
Exactly. But now as we take a look at 100 Thieves Academy's bot lane and their more recent performances, you start to see the story of what could be this next series, because we already mentioned Wixie Busio. Hot talent coming in here, both of them very young in their careers. Busio wasn't even with the team for the first portion, the first couple weeks here in Academy, and already he is popping off.
I really like seeing them work together as a 2v2. I think you can see the synergy that they have here, kiting out very nicely on the Senna TK lane. It's okay to let them focus down the Senna. You can kind of top yourself up, kite them out. And, you know, they also work well with their junglers. I think Kenvi has done a really good job of, I mean, he's just an incredible jungler. Who am I kidding? But you see them working with the bot lane there, the Flash Lantern play in. One of the staple ganks that, like, you have to be able to execute on to really get the most out of these champions. And we saw a clinic by Joey on the Thresh yesterday, or just, excuse me, previously. I hope we get to see it this time again.
That clip, like, if you just watch what Busio does there, is insane. Hits the hook, throws out the lantern, flashes in to get his jungler close enough, is down to a sliver of health, hides in the brush, waits for the next hook, and then hits that one again. It's like, oh, that is exactly what you want from your support. So bot lane will be pivotal in this next matchup, and it's exciting that we have so much promising talent in this role for both of these teams. And we don't have to wait much longer to witness them either, because I'm hearing that Champ Select is ready. So, the Tigers, I'm going to pass it back over to you to get us ready for Pick and Ban, starting off our second series of the day.
Thank you, Kangas. Second series, EG 100 Thieves, should be a good one, Mark, especially considering that, okay, while EG ended up going 1-1 within their game, they're still wanting to bounce back a bit. And then on the opposite side as well, 100 Thieves wanting to erase their series of the past to come up victorious here today.
Yeah, I think both teams have a little bit of a bounce back they want to have in this matchup. And I think especially around the bot lanes, even though Coyote and SkyTech had a better second game, it was still somewhat saved by Surdy getting these TPs off on the Renekton and punishing these over-aggressive dives by Dignitas. It wasn't like they were just crapping on the 2v2 by themselves. And like we already kind of highlighted, Wixie and Busio playing the Caitlyn Lux lane, they just got chain ganked and ended up dying a fair amount. So I think both teams, and in particular both bot lanes, are going to want to have a better showing today, and would probably be a focus for me and where the draft ends up going.
And we'll be getting into the draft right about now. So I do want to see kind of, we're talking about Surdy a bit, right? And like what sort of pick he's going to end up bringing through. Is it something like the Renekton, if he's afforded to have it to affect the fights, really last through a lot of them, just had some great opportunities to soak up so much damage and buy that time for the rest of the team? Or will it be something that fares a little differently? Right now, it's some Busio bans, it looks like. No Thresh, and while the Karma can technically be a flex pick, still being prioritized over in that support position.
Yeah, I wonder how much prep EG has done as well in terms of adapting to the enchanters in mid lane. For example, the Ivern. That was one of the things about that 100 Thieves loss that we didn't really talk about, was they were playing against one of those Ivern comps that Immortals was running, and it felt like they really did not know how to deal with it. Jimmian had a tough time dealing with that. So I think I'll be curious to see if EG want to try and copy that blueprint. If they have had games on it in scrims this week, maybe they can grab that Ivern themselves and be like, hey, 100 Thieves, have you learned overnight how to deal with it yet?
It also makes you wonder what strategy mentally 100 Thieves is taking. Are they brushing that off, saying, okay, we just hadn't faced it before, it's fine, it's okay? Or are they really having to try and workshop some ways to offset such a composition if they do face off against it? Because if you're looking at EG with this Gwen lock-in right at the top, we've seen that flexed already today, and we could see that again. So not too much intel given over to 100 and what they might be facing off against. Instead, they decide to lock in a Graves, which for Gamsu is a pretty strong pick.
Yeah, I was about to say the exact same thing about the flex pick Gwen. It feels like a bit of a call out here for 100 Thieves, saying you're not flexing that, you're not putting it jungle with the instant Graves answer, a counter pick that a lot of people try, and it doesn't always work. I've watched it in the LCK and some of the other regions around the world, and it looks really good. Whipple makes it look really good, but then a lot of people struggle to get the push off right away. They don't get that kind of dirty farming behind the turret, and then the Gwen ends up just outscaling the Graves in the side lane pretty easily. So this is a bit of a skill matchup, though it should be favored towards the Graves, but I do see the Gwen win it a fair amount.
Still the continued prioritization of bot laners, though, in this first phase of picks. It's Carry that's going to be on the Jinx, and then the Aphelios locked in for Wixie. Wixie, if we're looking at a lot of the games where they found success through the bot lane, there's actually been some Senna games, even some Jhin games, a lot where you can work with the utility, and someone like Aphelios has a decent amount to work with in that kit, and we'll see what they end up deciding to pair that when you have a hook champ coming in on the other side for SkyTech. We just saw how he was able to turn some of the tides in that game number 2 yesterday with the Nautilus, and looking to do so again alongside that Jinx.
Yep, feels like a bit of a game plan being defined already by the 100 Thieves draft. We talked about this counter pick in the top lane with Graves. You have a defensive bot lane. Aphelios Braum is strong. It's very sturdy, but it's usually not going to win matchups or blow them open. And Jinx, Nautilus is going to struggle to make plays into that. Anytime Nautilus hooks in, he's going to put himself in danger of getting stunned. So it kind of neutralizes the bot lane and just makes it a non-factor. So as much as we were trying to hype it up, I feel like this sadly might not be the most interesting matchup to observe in the bot lane.
You know, we've seen Busio when on that Braum even just saying, I'm going to go elsewhere. I'm going to stack my concussive blows on the top laner and see if I can help there. So maybe even more potential for that to happen in this game with SkyTech and Busio on the given supports when they want to bring that power across the map. But we're getting into the second phase of bans here. Another strong point if we're looking at 100 Thieves, which is just the case for any comp or any team that has made a way of becoming comfortable with having a mid laner that can roam and having someone like the Rise able to do so. So making sure that you take out that as a potential win condition for the opposition, and then 100 Thieves electing to target over on that top side. No Aurelia, no Akali.
Yeah, and even though they banned or they lost on the Rise yesterday, excuse me, Jimmy's Rise looked pretty good. I think later on in the game, he mispositioned a couple times, and he just wasn't used to dealing with the Ivern and Daisy and all this stuff, but he was still able to use it quite effectively early on in that game. So bit of a respect then by EG, saying like, yeah, you didn't win on that, but we don't want to have to deal with your Rise. And I feel like that's the same kind of case with those bans. They're more targeted at Saligo and his assassination potential to play, potential to play assassins well.
And for 100 Thieves, going into the second round of picks here, locking into the Victor. Victor still hanging around, still being a very prominent pick in the mid lane. It was Corki on this patch that ended up getting some of the changes where we won't necessarily see that particular matchup as often, but you can still have that reliable damage to scale into the later portions of the game. And this is a matchup that we're probably going to see more often, with Ahri becoming such a priority. Wasn't banned this time around, which means she's locked in for Saligo.
Yep, we the Corki package timing windows really hurt. It doesn't look necessarily huge if you're not familiar with how the pro game plays, but if a team's going to get a free Rift Herald because your Corki doesn't have package to contest it, it does start hurting a lot. So Ahri has kind of slotted in as one of the staple champions. Pairing with the Viego as well gives you a lot of setup and roaming potential with your mid jungle combination. They can make their own plays, they can go elsewhere on the map. And they have multiple resets as well, with the Jinx resetting as well. Like, this is a very scary team. If anything goes wrong, and we talk about EG's reactive play, and you give up a free kill to them, they'll suddenly start taking over these team fights.
And just get a nice good old charm onto somebody, lock them in for the follow-up from the Viego can be extremely effective. Now, with the final lock-in for 100 Thieves, Kenvi on the classic Lee Sin. Feels like every jungler under the sun loves to play some Lee Sin, but more specifically, allowing that opportunity to have that early game pressure and make plays.
Yeah, first time this year, but we all know Kenvi's the stud on Lee Sin. I gotta say, it does put a lot of pressure on him. There's not a ton of setup in his lanes. No CC in top lane. Mid lane, yeah, okay, Gravity Field's going to land on Ahri, good joke. And then you have the Braum, who you can maybe make some plays with, but given the fact that it's a pretty passive team comp in the bot and mid, that Kenvi's going to have to go by himself without a ton of setup and make things happen and kind of control this more aggressive mid-game team from EG.
All right. So, with all of that considered, you kind of just laid out what you think the 100 Thieves should be responding to on the side of EG. Do you think that EG working around that pressure that they have with someone like the Ari and with Tomio on this Viego, is that where they are going to be relying on the early portions of this game?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're expecting if the Graves matchup is going in favor of Gamsu, given they took it as a counter pick, he's going to have Shove, and you have to worry about the Viego and the Ari getting roams up to join there. I think that's where a lot of the pressure will end up going, even if the mid jungle are the ones making the plays. I think where they're most likely to end up is dealing with this Graves, who might be pushing, who might be dirty farming like we were talking about. So it's on Kenvi, I think, like I said, to find a way to lock them down.
Yep, so we are looking at Kenvi, seeing where he can lock down the fire potential that EG try to bring through. How is Tomio going to play around the mid lane and beyond? But also SkyTech and Busio on the supports that you're not really looking for them to have that power in lane. Will they be bringing that elsewhere? Will they be effective for the team all in all? But this is game number 1, Evil Geniuses Academy taking on 100 Thieves Academy, getting started on the Rift. And quite a day. We've had the single 1-1 split with our first series of the day. So we'll see if that trend continues or if we start to get some sweeps on the board.
So here's the important thing. Who is going to win now for 100 Thieves? Because they've had this situation between Cubby and Joshi about who wins depends on who's casting. It's 100% win rate for Cubby, 100% loss rate for Joshi. So is it going to be good or bad to have new casters finally casting this 100 Thieves matchup? I actually don't know what our influence is going to be yet.
So, Mark, you are the color caster in that hot seat. How upset do you think that you'll make 100 Thieves fans today? Or will they be, cheering your name for years beyond today?
Just based off draft, I feel like they might be a little upset about me. I will say, they have a nice scaling advantage, and they do have some power points on the map, but I do kind of prefer EG's more proactive game plan here that they should have. And Jinx is just scary to me. She has an insane win rate. I think Jinx is kind of caitlyn I understand the Caitlyn being stronger in lane and stuff, but Jinx has quietly become arguably the best AD carry in the game, especially after the 12.3 Caitlyn nerfs.
Yeah, it's also just one of those funny things too, where Caitlyn, you really don't get to see that often to begin with. Yeah, it has some changes within recent patches, but if she's going to be on the ban block so often, why not just show how powerful Jinx can be? And some early skirmishes down bot, as you can expect. The two tanky boys just wanting to, throw out some of the Qs to try and harass a bit, but Soligo getting chunked down fairly early here already has to pop a pot.
Yeah, nice play by Jimmy, kind of controlling the lane phase. In the bot lane with that little trade, you saw exactly what I was talking about, where if SkyTech hooks in, he's just going to get stunned up. And when you have the Glacial Augment passive versus the Guardian, you're usually going to take more damage in those trades. It will kind of allow Kaori to push the wave, which Jinx with Rocket Form at level 1 is always going to be able to kind of do anyways. So no surprise they control the lane phase there. SkyTech doesn't mind taking a little bit of damage just to make sure that they're controlling the wave. But from here on, it'll get a little scarier against Aphelios if you keep going in like that. At some point, you might end up getting blown up.
Meanwhile, in terms of where the junglers currently reside, Kenvi making his way through that top side jungle after clearing down bot, and then Tomio down bot as well to try and offer any assistance if needed. But because of that push up that Kaori and SkyTech had initiated, an opportunity for an early back to build a little bit into that arsenal for the Jinx here in the laning phase. But Jimmyan also a bit low on mana right now in mid, does have those corrupting potions to pop if need be to help him out a little bit in that trading regard. But Kenvi going ahead and grabbing up the first scuttle here on top.
Yeah, both teams kind of playing around where you expect them to have pressure. Tomio clearing down to the bot lane where they win that shove early. Gamsu is doing a good job controlling this matchup, so of course Kenvi's clearing bot to top. And then the kind of X factor right now is just how hard Jumian is winning the mid lane. He finally used his first corrupting pot tick, but has already forced all of them out of Soligo. The laser outranging most of the Ahri abilities. If you have really good accuracy with that, you can kind of poke her out.
Especially when she's trying to work around some of these waves when it comes to landing her kit effectively. So because of that, Soligo not having as much sustain available to him, just with that one biscuit in pocket, will elect back right now with a fairly even CSing rates of both of them, the wave crashing over on this mid side, which means that Jimmyan can do the same using that TP to get back to lane.
Yeah, try and do a little bit of a freeze here on the cannon wave, and we'll see if Kenvi can get back out on the map and start aggressively punishing the Ahri, or if Sligo can get this wave in before then. Pre-6 is when you kind of have these windows to maybe make some plays on the Ahri before her Spirit Rush is unlocked, and then there's just like no hope of getting enough CC on her to kill her. But it doesn't look like it can be, instead looking bot lane before resuming his clear on the Lee Sin.
And then Tomi over towards that top. There's so much warding across that river side that Gamsu feels much more protected in ushering that wave forward, using a little bit of that range to make sure this wave can just crash safely into that top turret, while Sturdy's been doing the best to try and keep him as offset as much as possible. And with the way that wave pushed over in the mid side, Soligo can get some of that additional intel. Has a feeling that Kenvi is over on the bot side because they also have that deeper ward. They spot him there. So good intel gathering on the side of EG.
Yeah, Skytech had that roam from the initial push to get that deep ward. Here, it was Siligo who just dropped that one down. So they're all over Kenvi. They know exactly where he is. The Viego not been tracked quite as well. And this really helps most of all Sturdy to know exactly when he should be worried underneath this turret if he's at this health. Am I going to get dove? Do I have time to push this wave out? These are all really nice things that, you know, it's benefiting your weakest point most usually. The weakest part of the map is where you're most worried about what the jungler is going to be doing. Am I about to get dove? Am I about to get ganked? And anytime there's strong points of your map and get vision and be like, no, you're good, dude. That is so helpful. So Sturdy able to go even and farm early on versus the Graves. You're pretty happy about that.
A nice bloom to catch out some of the members of 100, because if you're EG and you notice, Wixie and Busio, they're not back in lane yet. I wonder where they went, hovering around that mid side. That Dragons actually already spawned over down towards bot, so everyone's starting to set up just with some of that vision control there lately. See if they can catch somebody out with those rotations, but everyone playing a bit more reserved. Nobody wants to overstep, especially with a lot of the early playmaking that something like Kenvi on Lee Sin can have.
Yep, definitely the case. Kenvi, like I said, there's pressure on him to make something happen without a ton of tools, but he might get Sturdy here baiting him in.
Needle work, gets some grabs, finds the first blood. Sturdy on top for that one. A flash response. Oh my goodness, Sturdy, look at that sustain that you can have when you have all of it just popped right now. Kenvi can't find the kill, so it's just the single in favor of EG, and the pressure and knowledge that Kenvi is top means that Tomio can start on this Drake.
What a disaster for 100 Thieves there, but Sturdy, huge play to make that one happen, gets the kill, gets out, buys time for Tomio to get a dragon. Oh my god, that was incredible.
Gwen things, yo.
Yeah.
Knowing the champion, knowing how much you can really survive.
I can't believe it. Such good usage of the Conqueror to stay healed up there. You know, like, I thought for sure, like, 100 Thieves were going to win that. Gamsu's kiting him out, bringing him straight to Kenvi's waiting arms. That felt like a clean kill, but Sturdy kills Gamsu before they really make it a 2v1. It was kind of two separate 1v1s, honestly. And then just being able to sustain through that. I think he might have had the seal caps completed already in that. He might have got that off his first back. So just a huge play to be able to stay alive there.
And now Sturdy officially ahead here in the top lane. About 8 CS advantage and the kill here from that first blood gold. So feeling pretty good from the EG top laner and what they were able to execute on the opposite sides of the map. So Tomio sweeping out on the top side. Ghost was used by Gamsu previously, and Sturdy, I'm sure, has fed over that information. So they're setting themselves up for the dive here. Tomio under the guys, gets nearsighted by the smoke. So Gamsu trying to kite this out as much as possible. Sturdy can't be in on it anymore. The turret shot's gonna hit. That takes down Tomio. It's the 1-for-1 trade off of the dive initiated by EG.
That was very scary there. It was a potential double kill for Gamsu. He did not have his ultimate quite up yet, so that's one of the few reasons Sturdy could get out of there. There was no Graves ult coming over the top to finish him off, and this is what's scary about this Graves counterpick into Gwen. I've seen it go south quickly so many times. There was no CS lead accrued, no turret plates in his favor. One time, Gwen hit 6 and can get the all-in on chase down sequence, and now suddenly it's like, hey, Tomio, start coming top. We're winning this matchup. We can actually take over this Graves lane that was supposed to be the strong point for the 100 Thieves side.
Ooh, a little bit of back and forth right off of it. So gold lead, nice and even. Coming on 9 minutes right now, which means the Herald has been spawned. You see the pings coming through. 3 members already over towards the top side from EG. Jungler included. But Kenvi down towards bot.
Yeah, you're in a bit of a crisis mode here where you're trying to figure out how to save your team. I mean, you do have better scaling, I'd argue, with the Aphelios Victor side. And so now it's just about putting pressure on EG to slow them from building this gold lead. It's even right now, but now that it's hitting on 10 minutes in the game, you expect them to be able to control the Rift Herald. You saw Tomio kind of playing with that one. So soon EG will start getting leads in their favor. And for EG, excuse me, 100 Thieves, I think now you're on the back seat a little bit and just hoping to stem the bleeding. And here can be a nice counterpunch, grabbing that red buff on that timer.
Especially when you know now that one of your turrets will bleed out a bit more than the others, because that Rift Herald was effectively picked up by Tomio off of that topside pressure. So they can start cracking into one of these turrets and get some of that plate gold to snowball it that much more. But all the while, Kenvi just going for the farming, going for the clear. 74 up onto the 61 of Tomio. So wants to get into an effective position to really be able to capitalize upon these lanes later.
Yeah, but I mean, there's some junglers who you get the CS lead and you're like, I don't care. Like J4 is one of them. Lee Sin's kind of one of them. Things like Gwen, it's more substantial. Xin, you could argue. But for the Lee to have gotten the CS lead on Tomio, it's mostly hold on here.
Oh, the chunk down, the concussive blows are good. Glacial Fissure and a final hit to Kari means that Wixie gets the kill. Good stun up and lock up. Busio takes the credit, but it is a team effort from the bot lane for 100 Thieves.
All right, might not be done yet as both junglers are hovering in the top lane. It looks like 100 Thieves want to get a clean counter gank off here. Tomio does have the Rift Herald, so they're trying to get this off on the top lane, but without the jungler showing bot lane, you kind of have to assume he's up here.
Oh, Surdy steps into the bush, says, wait a minute. Maybe somebody's hanging out here with the way that Gamsu is positioning, because Tomio, he heard the call from Soligo, throws out the charm, gets the flash from Jimmy N, so the victor is safe, but a summoner expelled.
Not so bad there, getting the flash out. Now you can come back to that lane and make it go again next time Ahri ult is up. But I definitely want to give some credit to the 100 Thieves bot lane now that the action has slowed down a little bit. The Braum lane can make aggressive plays, you know, when you get those hop forwards onto minions, and you're able to do that as, hold on, some more action mid.
Dredge line for Busio. Soligo in the line of fire. Chaos Storm will get some good old damage down. It's just a support lost for now from EG, and Soligo's so chunked down, he just has to try and clear here from under the turret. Flash and Dragon's Rage. Kenvi grabs it, and he'll be safe. This
is the kind of Lee Sin I was talking about I wanted to see from Kenvi, knowing how good he is on it. Finding that kill there onto Soligo, who I think had flash up. He just got CC'd from the kick. Wasn't ready for that level of aggression out of the Lee Sin. And out of nowhere, 100 Thieves have catapulted themselves back in this game off the back of a 2v2 kill in the bot lane. And then picking another fight while the timing window was not good for EG. Ahri had just used her ultimate to try and force the flash on Victor, and then they just take a 3v3, and the Victor has his cooldown still up.
Dragon secured, so continuing to bring those advantages into 100 Thieves' favor. Gold lead extended for themselves, and they break into that stacking that was initially started by EG when they picked up that first Hextech Drake. So now we know that an Infernal Soul is on the horizon for one of these teams to dish out just that much more power in the team fighting later on.
Yeah, let's see if I can fit the point in here about the bot lane. They played that really well to get that solo kill. Wixie in particular stacking up the Chakrams and then flashing forward so that he didn't get hit immediately by Skytech's ultimate. It delayed how long it took the depth charge to get on top of him and work in another auto attack. That was just really heads up stuff. And now they've become kind of the power point with so many assists on their side.
Another Glacial Fissure for another punish onto Cowrie. Dredgeline brings Skytech into the faces of the enemies that just eliminated his bot laner. No flash available, no more utility. He goes down, and now Gamsu on the top side, baited by the low HP bar of Surdy within these trades, finds himself within the crosshairs of Tomio and Soligo, who drop down to get the kill. There you go. Tomio finding the advantage here. And now it's the Rift Herald that they can pressure into that top turret as well for some additional plating advantages.
Yes, but it comes at the cost of your mid and bot lane. They took 3 members there just to save Surdy's lane. In the meantime, there's a push by Jimmy N to get that one in. And of course, the 2 double kills again in the bot lane for Wixie and Busio. They grabbed that turret as well. So this game has gotten very strong for 100 Thieves very quickly.
A 4,000 gold lead for them at 14 minutes. 100 Thieves feeling good. Look at all of those bounties across so many heads on their roster as well. Whereas EG, it feels like after some of those early plays that favored Surdy, they really haven't been able to find much off of it. The 2v2 going so well for Wixie and Busio as well. Just such advantages brought off of the ultimate usage for them. So great play across the board. But if you're looking over onto EG's side, still opportunities that will be helpful into the later stages of the game. I mean, they've got a Jinx, they've got a Gwen, people that can really try and power through for them.
Yeah, they're still scaling on their side. The Gwen, despite, getting really chunked out there, is decently farmed up, has a CS lead and is 1-0-2, so Surdy can still be a threat in the game, and they have playmaking potential, like we said, with this Ahri.
Soligo goes for it. The Spirit Rush just a little too swifty. Charm to the right. Gamsu stepping to the left. Doesn't get hit by the Orb of Deception either. So Soligo taking the chance to back because Surdy is here to continue ushering up that wave in the matchup against the 100 Thieves top laner.
Yeah, the nice attempt there. Does not find the kill, but again, that takes 2 solo laners down the bot lane to try and make a play happen. And again, 100 Thieves punish with the members left behind. They grab the top turret. Gold lead continues to go in their favor.
And now we're at that point past 15 minutes. People like Busio just can kind of go wherever they want, wherever the team needs them. Wixie, Kenvi, and Busio really want to take this mid turret, so they stand behind their tank. The root onto Busio doesn't do much. Sandwiched by the TP soon enough, unless 100 Thieves can try to escape. The Dragon's Rage kicks Surdy away. Needlework lands into Busio, but he, again, is the tankiest member. He's okay with doing that. Throws the Q over the wall. They don't quite get the stun up. 1 hit short of that. So nobody dies in the process. Jimmy N now here to get the Death Ray and more down to create that distance.
Yeah, Busio is very tanky there. Baits them all in. And nice peel by the entire team. Kenvi heads up kick to get Surdy away from them, followed by the Braum knockup. Soligo in a bit of a scary spot.
Hey, I don't connect with the Q. I'll flash forward for it instead. But Soligo just does enough of burst damage right off the top, so Kenvi can't go for it.
Yeah, there was no ult available since, like I just said, he was using it defensively onto the mid lane situation. So if he had that, maybe they could have found that kill, but there's no way for Victor to get in range as well. Lee Sin, no ult is not that good at locking people down.
35 seconds on the clock until the next Drake comes up. So off of those backs that 100 just initiated, I mean, they've got full mythics across the entirety of their team, including the Braum, which means they'll have some of that extra shielding for the next team fight that'll be breaking out in due time, and gives EG an opportunity to just shore up and try and clear up some of these waves that are pushing in their direction.
Yeah, I think it's been okay. I mean, it got pretty terrible there with the bot lane double kills that were going on, but since then it's slowed down a little bit. The gold lead has come down to just 4,000 as we see a very deep TP here.
Harry and team, are they aware of it? They do have the control down. Blast Cone to separate Gamsu from the rest. Plenty of stasis galore. Skytech loses his life in that 0-4 on the scoreboard. First one caught out to put his body between the team and the rest. But Jimmy N now finds his body between Tomio and Soligo. Busio's made his rotation through. Lands a Q. Could be able to get the concussive blows. So Tomio gets a response. Glacial Fissure knocks up Soligo. Spirit Rush really creates the distance. A charm onto Busio so he can slowly follow up on him just a little bit. But this is an easy escape for Soligo unless he gets connected by the Q, ends up flashing away, has the protection of the turret.
Able to get away, but does lose his flash, as well as, I believe that was 2 kills total in the favor of 100 Thieves, as well as defending the Rift Herald. They can now fall back onto that, potentially, if they want it. We'll see. Surdy is still not done. This is a long fight.
Nope. Snip, snip, 1, snip, snip, 2, over the wall. Busio and Kenvi try to escape. Jimmy N is on the rotation. Super Mega Death Rocket gets a nice slam into Busio to chunk him down so he can eventually fall. But who will be the next one to do so? Surdy, good shutdown onto the enemy support. Kenvi with one last auto from Cowrie. EG turn this fight with 3 under their belts.
What an overstep by 100 Thieves there. They split their focus. I thought they were going to fall back on the Rift Herald since it could potentially time out, and then they were just going to grab it. But instead, they send 2, Gamsu and Wixie, down to deal with the dragon, which meant only 3 people on the top side, so they could actually get this sequence after. Surdy starts off just saying, all right, let's hop on the Braum. They don't have that many abilities left up after all the fighting that's gone on. I still have my ult available, so does SkyTech, and so they're able to force what looks like going to be a 3v2, but you also have the Jinx coming in. The assist from her Super Mega Death Rocket gave her the excited to get in range, then combine with the Gale Force to find that kill.
All in the while, another Rift Herald acquired from Tomio, so they win out that fight off of that overstep, and they get the objective as their wonderful prize. So EG feeling good. They're still down in gold quite significantly, but they're finding the advantages and trying to capitalize upon the mistakes made. And listening to Tomio in his interview after their recent matchup against Dignitas, where they lost the first game and then picked it up in the second one, he talked about the fact that they had some of that frustration, but they were able to punish the mistakes in the second game specifically against that team. And it feels like they are focusing on doing the exact same thing here against 100 Thieves, finding the opportunities when they arise.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things, as we'll see if Surdy can make a play here first.
The wolves too juicy. And
Wait.
the blast, it's a little hippity hopscotch across the jungle time, so Kenvi pretty good at that game.
He's really making good use of those blast cones there, I guess. Takes one into the jungle deeper, then takes the other one back out, blast cone to blast cone. Don't see that too often, but able to survive. What I was going to say is that EG in their comeback win against, or in the second win that they found against Golden Guardians, was a lot about reactive plays. And I think that's something they are very good about, is communicating when there are moments of weakness from their opponents. And so when they have that split call between Rift and Dragon, you know, EG are able to find those kills. So they kind of force teams to play clean if you're going to beat them.
And now Tomio and Surdy, they saw that Jimian was pushing onto that turret, so they baited the time to be able to close in on him. But Busio is here as well in SkyTech, wanting to collapse. Good charm onto Braum, but he blast coast in the opposite direction of the rest of his team. He said, I will go down with the ship, my friends. 100 Thieves, go off into the night and stay safe.
I appreciate the sacrifice. Wasn't maybe necessary. Someone hit that blast cone before he could get onto the right side, but that's two members dead. Support in mid lane, there's not that much available, so EG are going to go right onto this Baron. Hemby is alive. He has all his abilities up. Smite, Flash, and Ultimate.
Surdy teleporting in for the additional support if needed, but 100 Thieves, they want to create advantages elsewhere, so Gamsu doesn't even make the rotation despite having unleashed teleport himself, chooses to crash that bottom wave into the tier 2 turret, cannot do anything from there. The empowered recalls of EG making them way too swift in being able to respond, so he backs off in good time.
In this replay, the thing I want to point out is that Jimian has a really defensive build. He has the Morello Nomicon and Crown of the Shattered Queen. They just don't have that much damage, so you see how long it takes for them to actually drop Surdy down low. It does mean that he lives for a long time, and 100 Thieves almost collapsed to defend him, but it does punish you in some sense for playing things mechanically well. You just don't have the damage, even though he kited it out well. You know, he couldn't actually kill the people chasing him down. So again, another overstep that EG is able to punish was Jimian pushing in that top lane, thinking he could get out of there when he really couldn't.
It is an interesting team identity, the punishing team, the one that is able to read the enemy team so well when they do have these oversteps, but it's a great skill for them to have, and they get so much off of it. That Rift Herald that they got off of the last time when they were fighting over in the jungle side, they finally get to drop onto this mid turret with the Baron empowerment right behind it too, so they can feel so much secure in pushing this forward. Kenvi and Jimmy N getting a different angle, but they know they're not able to collapse in an effective way. All the while, Soligo pushing that top wave up as well, so the team can make a full rotation up here to continue the push. But 100 Thieves look like they want to try and trade out some of that advantage, keeping a lot of them focused over towards mid.
Yeah, just making sure they can't rotate back to the mid wave. They clear that one out before defending in the top lane. There will be a little bit of damage on this inhibitor turret. We'll see how hard EG wants to go pushing it.
Starting to just focus onto the turret itself. Good to note that 15 seconds until the next dragon spawns as well. So if EG do want to try and make a play with that, being that they are feeling a bit more strong with their Baron empowerment, then they can try and do so. You can already see the rotations going through. 100 Thieves making sure to move as a unit to answer.
Yeah, I mean, 100 Thieves actually still have the gold lead, despite how much we've been talking about EG coming back into the game. And this is third dragon. You can kind of feel 100 Thieves don't want to give this one up. They want to find a way into this pit, but with the Baron empowered minions, it might be a little bit too much for them to contest. They're going to give it up.
Can't quite step into the direction that they wanted to take that, so instead it's an even score for the dragon. Takes 2-2 with that Infernal Soul now just way off into the distance for either of these teams is a potential win condition, and that gold lead that 100 Thieves had that was a few K prior, just starting to whittle down to a single thousand right now. EG still nice and empowered, are able to get this tier 2.
Able to grab this one, brings the gold lead finally. Pretty much dead even again. Dragons dead even. It's surprising how much this game feels in EG's favor, despite the fact that, you know, it's a seemingly even game. Momentum is definitely in their favor, and I would argue power spikes probably as well. This is a little bit better of a timing for EG when we're talking about how Tomio and Saligo and Kaori can kind of pop off in mid-game. And especially with Jimmy's build, they're not going to get outscaled anytime soon. He just completed the Lich Bane, so finally getting some raw damage items on his side. But this is not like Luden Shadow Flame poke you for 1,000 damage Victor that you sometimes see. He was very concerned about getting picked off by that mid jungle that we kept taking up, but now it's kind of delayed the point in the game where your team will outscale.
Morello built to help with some of the healing on the opposite side of EG. The Gwen, the Viego, very prominent for that. But yes, a threat down the line that you'll have to worry about in that Victor. And now it's a bit slower than what we have seen recently, because now the Baron buff has expired. A little bit of reset opportunity sent off to usher some of these waves. As you saw Sully go down bot, Surdy up towards the top. 25 minutes into this game, and we've got a while before the next Drake spawns. So really you're turning your eyes towards these lanes to see where you can push up the advantages.
Yeah, taking state of the game right now, the 1-3-1 advantage is still very heavily in EG's favor. Surdy being 4-0-4, not a ton of farm because of how much pressure he was under. So not necessarily as strong as those kills make you see, but still 3 completed items is going to be a little bit difficult to deal with. And then Saligo in the side lane as well, a little bit more mobility. So a small advantage right now for EG, given that there's nothing on the map that anyone really wants to take. It'll be about 100 Thieves, getting vision down, making sure they catch Tomio if he's trying to get to a side lane, and that none of these pickoffs happen.
And you've got the Zonias at the ready. You've got a stopwatch in the arsenal for 32 to have a heavy impact next time they run into some 100 Thieves members. But the splitting is definitely something that they have to be concerned about in the future. So if you are 100 Thieves right now, how are you feeling about the way that EG have been able to play out through some of these fights and the fact that they got a lot off of that Baron push? Are you worried at all, or are you trusting in your capabilities?
I think they're a little worried. I mean, like I said, momentum, it's something that it's hard to define exactly what that is and what's causing it, but I think sometimes player mentality is a big part of it. Your bot lane popped off, was taking over the game. You felt like you were winning, and then the series of plays allows EG back into this game, and you need to mentally reset now. You need to try and figure out exactly where you are in the game. One of the things that players really struggle with is knowing exactly if they're ahead or behind when a game state like this happens. You were kind of winning, now you're kind of losing. Do you feel stronger? Do you feel weaker? You can't look at the gold the way you and I, as spectators, can look at the gold and just say, oh, we're even, we're fine. That momentum thing, when you make a number of bad fights and the enemy team has Baron and you're pushed in for a while, it might be sometimes hard to convince yourself, like, no, we're actually strong enough to fight this dragon coming up in a minute.
And you do have to worry about EG now grouping towards this mid side, moving as a unit. So what do 100 Thieves want to do with this? Do they want to try and match it? Do they start pushing some of the other lanes? Right now, they're just kind of on that clear duty. Want to try and execute some of the vision as much as possible. You can see them being really worried about getting caught out by any like Skytech hooks, right? Anytime that you don't see any member of EG, it's scary territory with a charm, with a hook, a lot of opportunities to just isolate and pick off a single target. So smart of them in the way that they're moving.
Yep, trying to find an angle here. Tomio, both junglers sussing each other out, but Tomio's friends are close to nearby. Ooh, that was a nice little interaction there where the Lee Sin ward hop behind and try and get the kickoff, but Tomio becomes unstoppable during that, and so he's able to get onto the far side of the Lee Sin again, and Kenby decides to hold his kick and baited out the ultimate by Tomio. So that was really clean by Kenby, actually.
Yeah. Multiple uses of the Heartbreaker there if you're looking at the other side too. So Tomio exits safely, but Kenby now knows that it'll be more difficult for him to get those pop-offs should the next fight break out. 15 seconds on the clock before that Drake spawns. Gamsu making sure to get the scuttle for that vision, but we also see that the Baron is up too. So when you've got these two major objectives, you know, that's when you got some decisions to make as far as the play that you go for.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they want to do. EG on the top side, they have decent damage onto the Baron, a 3-item Jinx. Viego and Ari can kind of take it down quickly. They also have this bot lane pressure, so Kenby soloing the Dragon Ball. This is going on.
And this is where you benefit too from breaking that stacking earlier. So Kenvi wants to get onto that soul point, but EG, they've already started up onto this SkyTech flash forward for the dredge line, but it does not connect. And now Surdy executing the teleport on the outer skirts of this pit was spotted by Busio and Wixie. It's enough of a burn down of the Baron for EG to secure their second Baron of the game. And 100 Thieves are starting to follow up on this. Quite a heavy chunk into the health bars of Soligo and Carry Her, now focusing their march up towards the red side. So it's a little bit of a corralling of cattle right now that Busio are going for. Busio went to flash in but could not connect there. Instead, it's the engage on the opposite side. Jinx gets the shutdown onto the enemy ADC. Busio pops. Gamsu pops are actually sliced through with the needles. Expertly piloted by Surdy, who gets a second kill, the double to finish off the ace for his team.
Soligo TP's down to the bot lane. He's got his eyes on the Nexus, I think, thinking he can maybe end the game. But God, what a great turn. I believe it was Soligo who started it off with the charm onto Gamsu. And you see how much damage both these teams have when they drop all of it down. People were just exploding in that fight.
So much impact as soon as somebody wanted to make the play. And EG, they knew we're getting turned. Let's topsy-turvy this back onto 100 Thieves. Nobody is here to defend until this very moment. It's a very noodle-swinging big boy Braum. One last charm to put a little wink in his face for the victory. EG taking the first of the series.
EG, very back and forth game, are able to get out ahead of it. There was a moment there where I thought they were going to win for sure. Then I thought they were doomed for sure. And then in that Baron sequence, I had no idea what was going to happen. But they outperformed 100 Thieves in these team fight situations, able to win that one, and then could end the game right after. It was actually a very impressive closeout from what felt like could have been a very long game.
It's one of those scenarios where you have to remind yourself every game is winnable, especially when you're just there and you see, okay, it's us 5, it's them 5. What are we gonna do? Who's gonna come out in this play? And in the end, good showing here. So that's one way to pop open this best of 2 series. We've got another one coming at you, the exact same matchup, but we'll see how much they end up flipping it in their draft for the next one. We'll see you on the other side of the break for the continuation of EG versus 100 Thieves.